Let the record reflect, we are back in the presence of the jury, and we have Dr. Ferenc, who continues to be under oath, and we will continue with the direct examination of this witness.
Thank you. Doctor, a couple of things that I neglected to ask you. Showing you again Exhibit 522. I'd like to focus on the neck area of Miss Feldman. Are there any, I'll use the term scratch. It's probably not a medical term, but so an abrasion on either side of her neck that we would be able to visualize.
They're on both sides of her neck. In the picture you're showing, actually it looks more like a pattern injury, something that had a regular periodicity, meaning evenly separated lines, is going across the neck in front of and below the angle of the jaw.
Did you see anything in your examination of her neck that would suggest something like fingernails?
Yes, sir, I think it's more on the other side of the neck. Or it could be interpreted as fingernails. I don't know that it was.
Correct. Yeah, thank you. Exhibit 523. Where would we be looking?
You'd be looking at her mandible, her lower jaw, along the body, the long part of the jaw. There's a long part of the jaw. There's some abrasions there that could be interpreted as marks related to fingernails.
Now, I think earlier I recall you're describing the manual strangulation, and you demonstrated a pinching action using your fingers, correct?
My finger and my thumb, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So if we assume for the sake of argument that the marks you observed were from fingernails, do you know whether they would be the person who strangled her or from her struggling with the ligature?
I can't tell.
Showing you Exhibit 540. Doctor, we're looking at a photograph taken at the medical examiner's office of Miss Feldman's legs.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what injuries, if any, did you observe?
In the picture, you can see on both legs, around the knees and on the shins, there are several bruises up to about 2 inches in greatest dimension. There's also a lot of splash effect that would be, or yellow damaged skin that would be consistent with the splash effect from bleach.
And the bruises or abrasions, would that have occurred while Miss Feldman's heart was beating, when there was blood pressure?
Yes, when she was alive, yes, sir.
Now, Doctor, are you familiar with the term defensive injuries?
Yes, sir.
And what would that mean to you?
It's an interpretation of what you see as injuries. The interpretation is that you see injuries on the outstretched parts of arms, like forearms or on hands, that indicate a person is trying to fend off an attacker. So it's a conclusion, but it's based upon what you see.
Okay. And do you see that anything consistent with that, with the injuries you observed?
The injuries on her hands are consistent with that, and some of the bruises on her arms are non-specific, but they could be part of that.
Doctor, I have a couple of photographs that are in evidence to show you. So what I need for you, for the purpose of my next questions, assume a couple of things. These photographs were taken of an area of the swimming pool in Ms. Feldman's backyard. Number one, so showing you Exhibit 97. And I want you to, if you will, please focus on this, what appears to be a missing pool tile. All right, sir? I would also ask you to assume, doctor, that, again, assume that the other earring that was not, that matched the earring that was on Miss Feldman's ear, that we saw a photo later, the other earring was found in the pool, okay? My question to you is, given the injuries to her, any of the injuries that you observed that could have been caused by forceful contact with the edge of this swimming pool,
Yes, sir.
what would those be?
Well, I don't know that we've discussed it, I can't remember, from the morning, but that would be consistent with some of the injuries inside of her chest.
Would that be related to the potential compression asphyxiation?
Well, the compression, it could have also caused some asphyxiation, but all I can be sure is it's a blunt compression.
Did you see any evidence of compression asphyxiation?
I saw that inside the chest, the hilum of the right lung, I think, had some hemorrhage around it and slight tearing. There was also a collection less than a pint of blood in the right chest cavity, and there were bubbles of air going into the mediastinum, which is the soft tissue around the heart. And that there wasn't any single dramatic bruise on the front of her chest or bruise in the back of her chest, so it would be a very broad force that abruptly put a lot of pressure into her chest cavity, and that would be consistent with something like this tile.
Again, assume for me, doctor, showing you Exhibit 100, assume that Ms. Feldman's blood and her hair, part of her hair, was found on this tile. Would that be consistent with what you're describing?
Yes, sir, but it would also be consistent with that's how she could have gotten some of her head lacerations.
Doctor, when do you recall, doctor, giving the Scottsdale Police Department crime lab folks permission to take swabs of from Miss Feldman's body at the scene?
No, I'm not the one that did that. Dr. Who did that.
All right, sir. Okay. The last thing I want to I think it's the last thing that I want to ask you about. In your examination, did you find any injuries to Miss Feldman's vaginal area, inside the vagina?
Yes, sir.
In doing that evaluation, are you familiar with the terminology sexual assault kit?
Yes, sir.
And did you utilize one of those?
I utilized at least some of the components of one. A lot of the components never matter.
Okay, so explain what you did.
Well, I followed whatever procedure we were doing at the time. There should have been a record of whatever samples were saved, but I basically saved any trace evidence I saw on the body surfaces, and then did at least under visualization a swab inside the vagina and a swab of the rectum, and I probably did a swab of the oral cavity, but again, I don't have those records.
And you would not have performed any testing of those items, correct?
No, I don't think we did slides back then. I do them now, but we didn't do them back then.
All right. And would those have been turned over to the investigative agency?
Yes, they would have been put into the chain of custody in our office and given to the police, yes.
Describe, doctor, what, if any, injuries that you observed to Ms. Feldman's vaginal area or internally of her vagina.
Near the outside of the entrance of the vagina, there were various tears associated with hemorrhage in the tissues, bleeding in the tissues, bruising, both on the right and left side. The largest one was on the left side, and it was fairly big. I'd have to refer to my report for the dimensions, but it's fairly big and it extended inside to the inner wall of the vagina.
Doctor, could you turn to page 5 of 10 of your report?
Yes, sir.
And I want to direct your attention to the paragraph entitled Injuries to the Genital Area. Could you read that to yourself? And
Objection, Your Honor.
Could you approach, please?
section that I referenced to yourself, not out loud, but to yourself.
Yes, sir.
Now, one other preliminary question. Let's talk about this report for a moment. When you conduct an autopsy like you did of Ms. Feldman, is a written report prepared by you?
Yes, sir.
And does it document your findings that you saw at the time?
I hope so. Yes, sir.
How long after you did your evaluation? Well, let me ask you this. Do you type it out yourself? Do you dictate it?
I don't know which one of those I was doing at the time, but if I dictated it, I used to use IBM type software. If I type it myself. And I actually always type my own reports since the 1990s.
So let me ask you this. You indicated that there was an injury that went internally, maybe not your words, but inside the vagina. What was the measurement of that injury?
I didn't measure how far it went inside the vagina, but the overall measurement of that laceration was 2.5 inches.
And describe the laceration extended internally, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what do you mean by internally?
Meaning past sort of the circle that forms the entrance to the vagina, so that it's extending beyond the vulvar structures into the wall of the vagina.
Showing you Exhibit 534. Can you describe for us what we're seeing here, Doctor?
Yes, sir. You're seeing a picture of her vagina showing that laceration. I should have really said it's extending from the labia minora there, but it's extending into the vagina. You can't see it going inside. You also see 1 or 2 other lacerations higher up and lower. Oh, and to orient yourself, the top of the picture is the anterior part of her body, and the lower part, you can barely see it, you can see her rectum is the posterior part of the body.
All right. But you yourself, if I understood you correctly, observed the laceration that went internally.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, in your experience as a forensic pathologist, medical examiner, have you had any experience with injuries to the vagina of women caused by penetration by an object?
Yes, sir.
And I want to clarify that. I mean an object other than a penis.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us some examples of what you have seen?
I've seen a hairbrush pushed in to do damage with both ends probably used. I've seen bottles stuck in and that were the wrong size to be able to go in there. I've seen a crack pipe used, a metal crack pipe used to cause damage. I think I've seen glass used. I'm trying to remember that. I don't want to mix up cases between that and rectal injuries, but I've seen various things done.
So, do you have any opinions, doctor, as to whether or not the injuries that you observed were the result of penetration by a male penis?
It's extremely, extremely, extremely unlikely. This is a healthy woman with normal tissues, not an elderly person where it would tear very easily. And to be quite frank, it's extremely unlikely a male is going to do that kind of thing that would leave injuries on himself.
You mentioned, doctor, a bottle or glass could potentially have caused these injuries, correct?
I've seen that before, yes, sir.
So I want to show you what's in evidence, states Exhibit 10. Are you able to observe the glass bottle piece?
Yes, sir.
Could this have caused those injuries?
And in its current state in the picture, yes, the glass edges could have caused tearing, a tearing that's somewhere almost at the point of cutting. And also the bottle cap could also have caused those injuries where it's crimped.
Give me just a moment, Your Honor. Doctor, one last question. The 2.5-inch long laceration that you described earlier that extended internally into the vagina, where did that laceration end?
It ended on the internal vaginal wall.
Can you tell us where in relation to the cervix it ended?
If the person was standing upright, it would be below the cervix.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
And cross-examination by the defense whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Did you speak with the state during lunch?
About Lubbock, Texas, and about other old cases, but nothing related to this case.
Okay. Other old cases similar to this case?
No.
Okay. Thank you. The state approached you about testifying in this case in September of this year, correct?
That sounds right. I don't have my calendar, but that sounds right.
Right. And it's been about 10 years, I guess not quite 10 years, since you were actually practicing as medical examiner in Arizona.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And one reason for that is that you had some medical issues, in California. I think you testified that you had gone to California, and those medical issues prevented you from traveling.
Yes, sir. I was on high-dose steroids, and I wasn't getting in an airplane.
Okay. And now those have subsided?
They're stable.
Okay. Okay. And because you're practicing in California, your Arizona license has expired.
Yes, a long time ago.
Okay. And from your involvement in February of 2025 in whatever time that you actually left Maricopa County, until September, you weren't involved in this case?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe somebody made some phone calls, but I didn't have any defense interviews, prosecution interviews, and nothing like that. No, sir.
Okay. And you didn't testify in any other proceedings in this case?
No, sir.
Okay. Is that typical?
Is that typical? When I leave a state, unless there's something unique or a strong need on one party's part or the other, they usually just farm it off to one of the other people locally here.
Okay. So it's common practice that if a medical examiner leaves to another area, then a current medical examiner in Maricopa County is assigned to represent the medical examiner in Maricopa County in a particular criminal case in Arizona?
Yeah, I had to do it for Dr. Schwartz here. I did it in Maricopa County for Dr. Schwartz, so yes.
So the reverse has happened when you're in Maricopa
Yeah, and in New York City as well.
County. Okay, thank you. Okay. And when the state contacted you, did you ask them to send you some materials to review?
Yes, sir. I asked them, because I had nothing, I had kept nothing from the office, so I asked them for the autopsy report and relevant photographs.
Okay, and some of the records you reviewed were the autopsy report, the photographs, transcripts from another medical examiner from another proceeding in this case?
Dr. Wallace, yes, sir.
Okay, and transcripts of the defense interview of that other medical examiner in this case?
I don't remember the defense interview, but I'm pretty sure I had it, yes, sir.
Okay, and the transcript was from a proceeding where that medical examiner testified in this case related to these issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And that medical